Have you ever noticed that everybody's willing to point out what you do wrong in ministry? Like when the sound isn't right, when there's feedback and all this stuff is going on? And it's easy to look and say, I want to do the best I can, so I don't want to do anything wrong. But when it comes down to it, you're doing a lot of things right. But how about 10 things that you're doing right, 10 things that if you keep doing, you're going to be blessed through it. I'm Curtis James. I'm a church media creator. I'm glad to be here with you today and talk about this. I'm here with my partner, Dave Curlee. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Hello. Thank y'all for being here and joining us. Curtis, that was a really good intro. I really like that.
Oh, well, thank you. I just made it up.
Live production, folks. You should have seen it. I was trying to come up with one. I couldn't do it. Curtis immediately stepped in. And that's a point that we try to hammer, for lack of a better term, into everybody, is that in your media team, if you have someone who knows how to do what you're doing as well, who is cross-trained, then they can always jump in and fill the gap that you're leaving, whether by commission or omission. And I was omissioning, and Curtis said, I got it, Dave. I'll take care of it. So thanks, buddy.
Sometimes you just block out. I mean, if you're a worship leader, you get this. It's when you get to that intro and the song, it plays, and you open your mouth and you cannot remember the first word. It's just gone. You may have sung the song 1,000. It may be Amazing Grace, and you're like, is it Great Grace? Is it really Good Grace? What's that first word?
Old Rugged Cross.
It's just gone. And that's when it's good to be able to look over at one of your vocalists and just kind of smile, and they'll be like, I got this, and they'll start the song. And so, it's always good to have other people on your team. It's why we don't want to be Lone Rangers.
That's
Doesn't
right.
work well.
You made a really good point. You and I spend a lot of time on and off of YouTube looking at stuff and getting tips and tricks and, hitting all the areas that we're wanting to grow in and stuff. And there seems to be a huge amount of 10 things you're doing wrong, fix these 10 things you're going to get better and all that sort of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I think we all know that we are making mistakes or what have you. But I love the idea of, hey, here's the things that you're doing right. The things that we overlook as things that we are actually doing right, the bigger picture of what it is we're doing. You and I are looking at cameras. We're looking to make sure that the slider is working. We're looking to make sure that the transmitter for the guitar is working, that the signals aren't getting crossed, that we're not getting some pops and hisses and things like that. And it seems like that while we're trying to put our best foot forward, right, on behalf of our church, it feels like we're just going from one little fire to the next. So Curtis and I really want to help you keep the proper mindset, because mindset is key to everything that we're doing. Everything that you do, if your mind is in the right place, and your mind is following your heart, because your heart is in the right place, in this case, a heart to serve, then you can't help but succeed. And it feels darn good when you realize I am having an impact, even though I'm just moving sliders up and down, or like me, I'm just clicking a mouse, 200 times inside of an hour.
Yeah, it's important, because the fourth week in a row that your pastor's mic drops out, even though you've changed the frequency and tested them, and you just don't know why it's happening, the fourth week in a row that your camera chooses to autofocus and blur out people's faces, even though you've practiced it and you've worked with it, when things are going wrong and things are breaking down, we can get really discouraged, and we're normally our biggest critics. And so what happens is we find ourselves really focusing on what went wrong, that 3 seconds that went wrong, that dropout in the pastor's mic that we're probably the only ones that noticed, or the fact that the click didn't start when it was supposed to and there was this gap. We noticed these little tiny things, but when it comes down to it, you're doing a lot of really important things. And Dave, you mentioned one of them right off the bat, and that's number one on our list, and that is you are serving. You are serving, and it's so important. So 1 Peter 4:10 says, as each of us has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. Okay? This is big, guys. You are serving. God has given you a gift. Your gift is that technology makes sense to you, or that you're willing to work through it and make the technology make sense to you. And so you maybe you have a good ear, and so you're a good sound man. Maybe you're good at managing people. Maybe you just you connect with the tech and you understand it better, but for whatever reason you have a gift in this area and you're being a steward of it by not only using it at your workplace or your house. Maybe you have the best home theater system on the planet. That's great. Are you using that skill for your church? Just because your car sound system is awesome, what are you using those skills for? And the fact that you're willing to use your gift to further the kingdom, to bless others, to serve others, that's part of God's calling on our life. And statistically, really, 10% of church attenders actually serve in their churches. 10%. That's really low. And that puts you, that puts you in the top 10 percentile. If you were taking a test, you would think, I must be pretty smart if I'm in the top 10 percentile. Now, we'd love that number to be higher, but it means that you're doing something that a lot of people aren't. You're doing what God has called you to do, and you need to be encouraged by that and need to realize, despite stuff not working right, maybe it's because your equipment, you just don't have enough money to upgrade a piece of equipment, or maybe it's because of a problem you're still trying to work through. Don't let that kill the fact you are serving. You're serving faithfully. You're serving every week. You're serving consistently for your church, and that really, really matters to the one who matters most in our whole process. So number one, be encouraged. Don't ever stop doing it. Don't get discouraged, but instead continue to serve. Way to go. You're doing it. Good job.
I like that. That right there is kind of the heart of everything, is that you are. One of the questions that you and I see a lot coming up in the Church Media Hacks group, go to churchmediahacks.com and make a request, and we will be happy to let you join our private group. One of the things that we see a lot, people are saying that they're having problems getting volunteers, growing the volunteer base, expanding it, training volunteers. There's a whole subculture of dealing with volunteers, but the thing that you're looking for, and this is a I guess a free tip, is look for someone who just wants to serve. Okay, and it doesn't matter where they're serving; their heart is to serve. That's something, Curtis, I know that you and our pastor Jared and Jason, when you guys all finally came together at our church, it was over the course of a couple of months, gathering the ministry team. But you guys made a conscious effort to develop a heart of service in the people of our church, not just a heart of service for one thing. Someone who
Right.
is working in the media booth, if they get asked, "Hey, can you greet at the door?" Yeah, sure. That's fine. They'll get up out of their seat and run over and stand at the door and hug necks. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Can you help us move the coffee bar? Can you go get the coffee bar set up or something like that? Absolutely. You just need to know where the key is to the cabinet. I mean, that's about it. But your heart is to serve, so it really doesn't matter. Now, in the area that we're in the technical area, in the media area, there's obviously training that has to happen. There's technical barriers that are a lot of times self-imposed by our volunteers, by people thinking it's too technical, I can't do it, I don't know how to run a camera, I've never worked for a television studio, I don't know how to live stream, I don't know what that means. The thing that you're looking for, and the thing that so many of us in this space kind of have a natural bent towards, is learning. And I want to commend everybody, because you do want to learn. The reason that most people are watching this, I mean, unless we are just your Thursday entertainment, which if we are, hello, my honey, hello, my baby, hello, my ragtime
You may
gal.
need to get Netflix.
Yeah,
Just saying, I know it's expensive, but
Yeah, I can do a little soft shoe routine or something if you need, but
there are cat videos already over on your side panel.
Yes.
They're really funny.
Yes.
There's gotta be cat videos. You're on YouTube. You're on Cat Central.
And I'm working on turning Curtis into a meme, so you can always enjoy those. But but the thing is,
way too easy.
Is that you're here, and those of you that are here every single week, those of you that are subscribed to our channel, those of you that are a part of the community that we're building here over in the Church Media Hacks group here on this show, that shows that you have a willingness to learn. And if you have that willingness to learn, that is a huge thing that is not only going to serve you in ministry, it's not only going to serve you in the technical stuff that you're going to be doing, and being able to take your aspect of the ministry to the next level, it will serve you in life. Because if you don't know how to do something, then you know that it is a matter of overcoming that lack of knowledge, which means just go gain the knowledge. So I want to commend you for being here. For those of you, especially those of y'all who do this every week and have stuck with us since we relaunched this whole show, thank you. You deserve you deserve so much more than a pat on the back. But that willingness to learn, that heart to learn, feeds right into that heart of service. And because you want to serve, because you want to honor God with your talents, having the willingness to challenge yourself and to take your talents to the next level, and just flat out having a God, how far can you push me? How far can you grow me attitude is huge. And that is not only a blessing to you, but that's a blessing to the people that you're serving. It's a blessing to the people in the congregation that are being served by the media team right there in the room, as well as the people that are online in the digital ministry, in the YouTube ministry, and the social media ministry, all that sort of stuff. So I commend you for that, and I thank you for that, because we need more of that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's number two. Number two is that you're learning. Number three is that you're sacrificing. You're sacrificing your time. I know that's kind of service, but you're also sacrificing probably other things. There's a good chance that you needed a new cable, and so you went out and bought that cable for your church, and you need a new microphone, or you pitched in for this or that. But sacrificing is important, and serving results in sacrifice in some ways, but being intentional that we're willing to sacrifice is important. So Hebrews 13:16 says, "Do not neglect to do good and share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God." So when you're sharing what you have, you're sharing your time with your church, your time with your team, your time with your ministry team, but you're sharing your knowledge, you're sharing your background, and you may be sharing monetarily in different ways. But in all these ways, you're willing to sacrifice. This is one of the things that I always run into when people start to get interested in serving. They really they start to say, well, I don't have the time for this, and I can't do that. And you always end up having a conversation that says, yeah, well, it's going to cost you something. It's
Right.
going to cost you something. It may cost you time with your spouse. Okay, well, let's talk about this. Are we spending too much time away from our spouse? Well, if it's because you're serving in your church, then what else are you doing with your time that's taking you away from your spouse? Maybe serving is actually more important than those other things. But whatever it is, there's going to be sacrifice, personal sacrifice involved, because the Bible calls us to it. It's an essential part of being a follower of Christ, that we sacrifice like he sacrificed, even though we're not maybe sacrificing at the same level he is, but being willing to look at it and say, hey, there's a need here, and we need a $25 cable. I'll just buy it, instead of going, hey, we got to increase the budget. There's not enough money here. Oh, I have to spend my own money. No, that's not the right attitude. The attitude is, well, God's given me this to give away to others. This is a way I can give. And so be willing to sacrifice. Chances are, given the position you're in, you are already doing that. You're already sacrificing. You're already putting yourself in that position. And that is awesome. So keep it up. Keep being willing to sacrifice, and let God direct you in that, and let him show you how you can sacrifice. And one of the ways you can sacrifice is kind of with this whole attitude that we face day in and day out, right, Dave?
Yeah, you totally can. The other day, I was going through some of our stats on our YouTube channel, and one of the things that I noticed was that about 70% of the people that are watching this have not actually subscribed to the channel. So it's really cool that people are finding our content and finding our show and all that without being subscribed. But what's even cooler is when you guys do subscribe. So if you would, please do us the honor of hitting the subscribe button and hitting the notification bell. And if you really like this, then turn on all notifications, so you can be notified anytime we do something on here, and we can stay in contact with you, and you can stay up to date on what's going on. We'd really appreciate it. And before we talk about that attitude, we were talking in the previous thing about learning and then now moving into sacrificing, which a lot of times means sacrificing your time, being the one who's willing to step up and say, we need to do this next thing, or we need to set up this new thing or whatever. And so if that's you, if you are doing that, I want to let you know about our free guide that we have called Easy Live Streaming for Church. Was it Live Streaming for Church is the easy way? You can go to easylivestreaming.com and grab your free copy of it. A lot of people, Curtis, that are out there are still looking at how do I start streaming? Should I start streaming? Is live streaming a viable part of my ministry? Does it still matter? Is it still a thing? And I want to tell you that it is. In fact, in this book, we go over the 4 modes of live streaming, and we talk about how you can actually add live streaming to your ministry, like, I don't know, probably by the time you get to page 7 or something like that. You can immediately make live streaming a part of your ministry, even before you get to Sunday. And so just go grab a copy of that. It's free. We've got some recommendations of some things that you can do, some hardware that you can get, software that you can get. A great jumping off point is learning about the 4 modes of live streaming and then seeing how you can put those into place in your ministry. So go to easylivestreaming.com, grab your free copy today. Now, Curtis, the thing that this is something that I run into from time to time. And maybe it's because I'm becoming an old fuddy-duddy. I don't know. You're almost a fuddy-duddy. You're fuddy, but you're going to be duddy here, in a few months.
I'm not duddy yet. Not like you.
No, you will be. It's coming. But it's the patience. It's being patient and pouring grace on people. And that is something that if you are patient and if you are pouring grace on people, then you are not only blessing them, but you're also blessing yourself. I look back at all the times that I've made dumb mistakes, and whether it's in production, whether it's in life, whether it's in the checkbook here at home, whatever. And when patience is doled out to me, and when grace is poured on me, it's an humbling blessing. And we have to remember that the people that are in our media team, the volunteers, whether they're in our media team, whether they're on the stage, part of the worship team, whether they're the ones that are hugging necks at the door, doesn't matter. They are giving of their time, and they are not the seasoned professionals that we may be, or that we may be aspiring to be. And so when we exercise patience and grace on them, we're exhibiting Christ's love to them. Let's see. If you look at Colossians 3:12 and 13, it says, "Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against the other, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive." And that, Curtis, that is something that over the last several years has been heavy on my heart, is being a person of patience and grace. And God has orchestrated it so that I must learn to be a person of patience and thereby pouring out grace on others. And so those of you who are in the ministry, serving, volunteering, working in media, training other people, if you are the pastor, if you are the worship pastor, and if you are the one who is front of stage, who is front of mind for people, and you've got a bunch of people that are behind you that are putting all the pieces together and working to make sure that what we're doing on Sunday morning is as flawless as possible, okay? Because we don't want hiccups, and is as seamless as possible, and is not a distraction for the people that we are serving in the audience or online. If you're one of those people, I want to encourage you to exercise grace and patience with your team, because they are serving the same Lord that you're serving. And when you are kind and loving and patient when something goes wrong, you are exhibiting that Christ-like love. I don't remember where the reference is, but it's a exhortation, Curtis, for husbands with their wives to love their wife like Christ loves the church, making a sacrifice for themselves. That is specifically talking about the husband-wife relationship and our responsibility as husbands. And I encourage people to take that same heart and pour it out on others, pour it out on your volunteers who have come and said, I want to serve alongside with you. So if you're doing that, fantastic. Keep doing that. If it's something that you struggle with, then pray that the Lord gives you more opportunities to exercise that patience and grace, and that He gives you the opportunity to see when patience and grace is poured out on you.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that as you've poured out on people, and you pour it out on people, and you pour it out on people, and yet someone still comes and complains about the song or says it was too loud or whatever. Sometimes we just reach a point where we're like, I don't want to be gracious anymore. I don't want to be gracious anymore. I'm done being gracious. Like, I've had it. No more grace, And that's just not right. I mean, we all have been there. We all have that feeling, but it doesn't make it right. It means that's when we just need to provide more grace, and means we need to be more humble in our approach to things when that's going on. It's a hard thing to do, but you're doing it. Don't stop. Keep doing it.
Don't stop.
Even though people will challenge you to quit doing it, for absolute sure. And as you're exercising that grace, sometimes you'll find you're exercising that grace under authority. So that's our number 5, is you're serving under authority. That is, you've got a pastor, you've got a worship pastor, you've got somebody leading in your booth, whatever. You're working under an authority, and sometimes you're not going to agree with the decisions they make. And you're not going to, maybe you don't even know all the details. Maybe you do. Maybe they're making a decision that really isn't the best technical decision. But you're still falling under that authority. And that is something God lays out for us. It's an important thing that you're doing as you serve in your church, and that you're being willing to submit yourself to authority, just like Jesus submitted himself to God's authority. That's a whole other thing. And so there's this authority structure that's in place throughout everything that we do. And you're willing to serve in that, and that's what we want to see. We want to see people who are willing to fall under the leadership of the people that God has placed over them. And it's exciting to see that you're doing that, as somebody who's coming here, who's serving there, and who's seeking to grow. So way to be a builder up of your staff, and way to be someone who's willing to fall under the authority that God's placed over you.
And when you are willing to fall under the authority of a spiritual leader that God has placed over you, that not only teaches you how to submit to authority, it also shows you the example of authority, so that when God puts you in a position of leadership, and I mean, it could be major, you could be, full-time staff member, for the first time and running the entire media department and what have you, or you could be the person who is kind of the number one go-to in the booth, and you've got 2 other people in there who are looking to you for leadership. And learning how to submit to your pastor, learning how to submit to those that are in authority over you, that God has placed in authority, gives you the right mindset to pour, again, that patience and grace onto the people who are serving with you as their authority. And ultimately, we're all serving under the Lord and trying to accomplish the ministry that He's called us to. Now, doing all of that and the things that we have gone over so far, the first, what do we see? We've done 5. So doing the previous 5 things, if you haven't realized it or not, what you're doing for the people who are looking at you, and, Curtis, I always heard that at any given point, there's like 7 people who are looking at you or seeing what you're doing. Yeah. Now, I don't want to sound narcissistic, like, I've got 7 eyes on me the whole time, but, throughout the course of your day, throughout the course of your morning, on Sunday morning, your ministry time, your time at the church, you've got people that are observing you. And if you are doing the previous 5 things, and what you're doing is you're modeling service to them. You're showing them what it means to serve your God, to serve the congregation, the people that you are ministering to serve the leadership that God has placed over you, and you're just showing what it means to be a servant. And that is one of those things that once you are doing that, and once you realize I'm a servant of God and I am here to serve Him and to serve others, what ends up happening is that doesn't stop when you leave the doors of the church. That doesn't stop when you get in your car and get that AC pumping. It will flow in through the rest of your life. You will notice that if you haven't already noticed it, you're going to start looking for it, that you start bringing that attitude of service and that ability to model a servant's heart to your family, to the children that you're raising, to the spouse that you're leading, or the spouse that you are partnering with, and your coworkers and your boss and all that sort of stuff. That heart of service that you're modeling and stuff is going to God is not only going to bless you by being obedient to Him, you're going to be blessing all these other people, because you're going to end up being one of those folks that others around you know that they can count on. They will look and say, you know what? When the chips are down, Curtis is always there, no matter what. We can throw anything at him, and he'll stop, take a breath, he'll sigh, and then he'll say, okay, how can we make this work? And then he'll start looking for solutions. Why? Because he has a heart of service. So I commend you for that. Keep doing that. Keep modeling that heart of service. It is contagious.
Yeah. And as you're modeling that for people, then what you're going to find is you're going to get provided with the opportunity of something we alluded to a little earlier, and that is you're teaching others.
Right.
When you're looking at it and you're saying, hey, I can, a lot of people can learn to do what I'm doing. They can learn to click on this camera and click on that camera. They can learn when it's a good time to do it, when it's a bad time to do it. They can learn how to mix this sound and how to unmute and mute mics and stuff. Hey, your perfect trainees are 7th and 8th graders. Get them in there, get them in your booth, teach them how to do stuff. Yeah, you're going to have to, stay on them. Their attention span will be short. But what you'll find is when they're 9th and 10th graders, they'll be your best technicians in your booth. And when they're 12th graders, they'll be better than you. And then 5 years later, when they're leading the AV ministry at their own church in another place, then, you actually will be impacting another church, not just the church you're in. And so teaching is really important. Teaching and training others. You're doing it right now. You're showing people, hey, here's how you turn it on. Here's how you turn it off. All that kind of stuff. Use those opportunities to teach not just how to use the equipment, but how to serve in the church and impact people in that way. It's a great opportunity to engage people who are unengaged in other areas of the church. We talked about 10% of the church is normally serving. Well, you can help increase that by reaching out and training others. And my guess is you're probably doing that already. So that's a great thing to continue working on, to continue to develop others to serve in the ministry that you have such a heart for.
And as you're teaching, this is number 8, as you're teaching and as you are serving and as you're modeling service and as you're doing all of that, what is happening subconsciously really is you're being an encouragement. You're encouraging others. You are you're becoming magnetic, Curtis. You're going to attract people around you that have that heart of service because you are encouraging them, because they are looking at you, especially if you are someone who, when something's not going right in your life, but you're continuing to serve, that is a silent encouragement to someone else who may be doing just great right now, or who may be starting to go through some problems or something like that. And they can look at you and say, you know what? This person's life has fallen apart and nothing is going right. They cannot buy a win, and they are still here serving faithfully. They are patiently, faithfully, lovingly doing what God has called them to do. Oh, that I could be half the person that person is. You're just being an encouragement, and that's huge. Let's see, was it 1 Thessalonians 5:11? Therefore, encourage one another, build up one another. You can do this just by doing the things that God has called you to do, by teaching and training, by having a heart of service and stuff. And then on top of that, you can do it on purpose. You can be one of these people, especially if you're right there in the booth and someone makes a mistake and you turn around and say, hey, it's no big deal. Check it out. If you click right here, it fixes the whole thing. You just encourage that person who thought, oh my gosh, I just messed up everything. And just you being there and saying, it's no big deal, just click right here, is an encouragement. You can make somebody's day that way and bless somebody tremendously. And then, of course, the Lord's going to pour that same sort of blessing on you because you're encouraging others. And he, so many times in Scripture, he calls us to do that. And I think that's one of the biggest things. We go back to the greatest commandment, the 2 commandments: love your God with all your heart, and love other people. And that encouragement that you're being like that is loving other people. So kudos.
Yeah. And then our second to the last one is you're making a joyful noise. It's funny because a lot of times we're like, well, I'm concentrating, like if I sing along
microphone
with the lyrics
feedback
while I'm clicking, the slides, if I'm singing along, I always get behind or get ahead because I know the songs, and so I can see all the words. They're all in front of me. I don't understand why everybody's having a problem. And so a lot of times I can't sing while I'm doing certain things. I can't sing if I'm trying to mix because I can't hear because my voice is louder in my own head. Now, Sometimes when things are all mixed in, I'll join in singing, but we can't deny the fact that we're a part of making a joyful noise. We're operating an instrument, just like the keyboard or the drums or the guitar. Right. We're operating an instrument that's making a joyful noise, whether that's in our room, through the stream, whatever. We are doing that. And so now the Bible tells us we're supposed to sing. The Bible tells us we're supposed to do these things. So if we never do those things, then there's something missing from our worship. But it's also something worth acknowledging that when we are the ones who are mixing the audio, when we are the ones who are working through these things, we are making a joyful noise. And it's important that we not negate our act of worship involved in that. And so that is essential to the process, and you're doing it right now. You are serving in that way, and you're making a joyful noise, just like the Bible encourages us to.
Exactly. And guys, when you're doing all of these things, and if you're like me, you haven't really stopped and thought about just what it is that we're doing. And Curtis was kind enough to actually put together this list, this breakdown of what it is we're doing every single week as we're serving. And that's when you look at the totality of this, what you are doing is you are helping to amplify the gospel. You're fulfilling the Great Commission. Mark 16:15, he said to them, "Go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole of creation." That's what we're doing. That God has placed you and me in this time in history to have access to the technology that we have access to right now. He placed Gutenberg in the time that he did then, the creation of the printing press. That the people that were involved in that process and that started taking handwritten Bibles and mass producing those Bibles, God ordained that they be at that point in human history to do that thing. And the impact that it has had on amplifying the gospel is unparalleled. Never before in history has the Word of God been able to reach more people up to that point, and as a result of that point, until we get to now. So we're amplifying just that one point, just the ability to have the Bible everywhere. We are able to even go beyond that because of the technology that we have right now, so that everyone will be without excuse. Everyone will have heard the news of Christ, the gospel, the saving power of His grace. And that is what we're doing. We're here to amplify the gospel. Take everything that you're learning here, that you're learning on other YouTube channels, on other areas where you're improving your skills, leadership courses, all that sort of stuff. Everything that you're doing, suck all of that in and use it to go and change people's lives by amplifying the gospel. If you've enjoyed this, be sure to give us a like and a thumbs up. We love you, and we'll see you in the next video.